Alright, in this video we're going to look at imperialism in Africa and Latin America. Now we're going to mainly be talking about European countries going out and colonizing other parts of the world, mainly for areas and sources of raw materials so that they can ship back to their countries and then put into their factories and then make manufactured goods to ship out and make money from the rest of the world. So the first place we're going to look at is the scramble for Africa. Basically, European countries desire to go out into Africa and pretty much chop up and divide up the entire continent of Africa for its use in raw materials, because Africa was very rich in raw materials. So our causes of imperialism in Africa, first being social Darwinism. Okay, species that are more fit for their environments will survive and reproduce. Basically, the fit will survive. You also see A White Man's Burden by Rudyard Kipling. That is a poem we will look at in class. Next cause is economic needs. Okay, Europeans have pretty much used up all of their raw materials, so they need sources of raw materials so they can then put into their factories, like I said, and make manufactured goods. Africa was a very rich source of raw materials that helped to fuel the Industrial Revolution that's going on in Europe. The major economic resources of Africa were coal and rubber. If you think about it, around this time we're dealing with the late 1800s into the early 1900s. Rubber was a very hot commodity, needed for tires, for cars, and bicycles, which was a favorite pastime of people. New technology allowed people to go into Africa. Quinine, which was a vaccine and protected people from malaria. Hopefully you know that malaria is a disease or a virus that is spread by mosquitoes. If you don't have protection from it, you could die. Telegraphs, new telegraphs that use Morse code helped to make communication faster. Steamboats allowed people to travel farther inland into Africa, and the automatic machine gun helped these Europeans conquer other areas and people of Africa. Next we have political causes. Land and resources equal power in Europe. The more land that you had and the more resources you had, then technically the more money you could make, and so that equaled power, and everybody wanted to be the most powerful. Nationalism had just occurred, so we have these newly united countries in Europe, and they all wanted to be known as the best and most powerful. And next we see the effects. Through the conquest of these areas, Europeans go in and they kill and take a lot of land and kill a lot of people in Africa. So Africans lost their lands and independence, and many Africans died resisting the Europeans. Now, looking at some of the events that took place over Africa. In 1880, there was very little European control in Africa. But then by 1914, all of Africa was divided up and under European control, with the exception of Ethiopia and Liberia. Europeans meet at the Berlin Conference, and basically all this is where European leaders of different countries come together, and they basically make up a process of how they claim land in Africa, so that would then prevent war between European countries. So basically this is a process that was created for newly acquired African lands. There's a notification system saying, hey, we've claimed this land, it's ours, nobody else claims it. And this helped reduce conflict in Europe. The Belgian Congo. King Leopold, the King of Belgium, systematically destroyed the Congo through the harvest of rubber and the brutal and deadly use of the inhabitants. Basically, he used them as slave labor, worked them to death to create his own personal fortune. He didn't use it to help out his country, he used it for himself. And then we have the Boer War. Boer War, this is where the Dutch had settled in South Africa. They had been there long before the British ever came in, but the British heard that there was gold in South Africa, so they come in and they claim the lands in their name. War broke out between the Dutch and the British, and the British eventually win that war, and they send 20,000 Boer women and children, over 20,000 Boer women and children to concentration camps, and 20,000 of them died there. Now we're going to look more into Latin America. First place we're going to look at are the Philippines. After the Spanish-American War, the U.S. made the Philippines a United States colony. The Spanish had control of the Philippines, and so when the United States enters that war, the Philippines thought that they were going to get their independence, but the United States takes over and has them as a colony. And they remain as a colony until after World War I. The Panama Canal. The French began to build the Panama Canal, and as you can see right here, we have North America and then South America. Panama Canal is right here, connects the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean, cutting out this passage right here, cutting out thousands of miles. So now all ships have to do to trade, go through the Panama Canal, and you cut off weeks of travel, making it faster. Panama Canal was a U.S. effort to build a canal between the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. The canal shortened the voyage from New York to San Francisco by 8,000 miles. Look at imperialism in Mexico. Mexico became independent from Spain in 1821 and became a republic in 1823. Santa Anna was a five-time president. Began liberal, but then he kind of changed his ideas and became very conservative. That would be like a very democratic person today, changing all of a sudden and becoming very Republican. He was overthrown in 1855 by a group led by Benito Juarez. The United States government supported Juarez, and he eventually wins that civil war. Out of this, we get several different people coming to power. First, we have Diaz, who ruled with an iron fist, basically his way or no way. He wanted to modernize Mexico, but he got a lot of his wealth from foreign investors. He imprisoned his opponent in 1910, the 1910 elections, and out of this, because of this, two opposition leaders rose up to fight against his regime. They were Zapata and Pancho Villa. Pancho Villa supported Madero, which was Diaz's opponent, who was put in jail, and his reforms. Pancho captured the city of Juarez in 1911, basically saying, look, we're powerful, you need to listen to us, we're not going away anytime soon. Zapata supported Madero, but grew unsatisfied with the slow process of land reforms and took land from the wealthy and gave it to the poor, basically like a Mexican Robin Hood. Finally, we get Carranza, declares himself president, but was not supported by Pancho Villa or Zapata. The United States comes to recognize him as president, and under him, they create a new constitution. We'll look at the middle part. Cuba was under the control of the Spanish during European imperialism. And they began to fight for their independence from Spain. Leaders were exiled from Cuba. Jose Marti founded the Cuban Revolutionary Party and led a revolt, but was killed in battle. This leads to the Spanish-American War, where Cuba becomes a United States protectorate. And that is a look at imperialism in Africa and Latin America.